accessible elections information for election officials. Interacting with people with disabilities and everyone. A woman with shoulder-length brown hair, eyeglasses, and a dark blue blouse stands in front of a white background, holding 2 forearm crutches.
This series of brief training videos will provide tools to remedy accessibility barriers identified in previous EAC work and serve as a valuable resource for election officials, poll workers, and other stakeholders.
This video series is brought to you by a collaboration with
the U.S. Election Assistance Commission, or EAC, which was established by HAVA, the Help America Vote Act of 2002, to fulfill its mission of providing best practices, recommendations, training materials, and other resources for election officials, and NCAM, the National Center for Accessible Media at GBH. For 30 years, NCAM has been a national leader in making digital media accessible for people with disabilities. NCAM is part of GBH, the leading producer of public media in the U.S.
Claire Houston, Accessibility Specialist at NCAM at GBH.
In this video, we'll discuss ways that some people with disabilities communicate and navigate physical spaces. We'll provide recommendations when speaking with people with disabilities and about disability, and we'll touch on words and phrases to use and some to definitely avoid.
Interacting with people with disabilities and everyone.
When encountering anyone, whether in person on election day, on the phone staffing the call center, working alongside you at a polling site, over email, text, social media, or a video conference, it may be immediately obvious that the person you're communicating with has a disability. At a voter registration event, someone may approach you with a service dog, or you may pick up the phone and hear a sign language interpreter voicing for someone using a video relay service. However, depending on the environment, mode of communication, type of disability, and someone's personal choices regarding disclosure, you may not know if the person you're communicating with has a disability. So it is helpful to be aware of some of the various ways that people with some disabilities communicate and navigate physical spaces. Some people may use human or technology intermediaries to communicate. For example, a computer-generated voice may be used by someone using an augmentative and alternative communication device, or AAC, or another text-to-speech software that may be run on a phone, computer, or tablet. Other people may use non-technological communication methods, such as by pointing at symbols in a book or writing on a piece of paper. Human intermediaries, such as a sign language interpreter or an aide, may also be used. Be respectful and always address the person directly, not anyone they are with, including their interpreter. It will rarely be necessary to direct a question to an interpreter. Some people with disabilities have service dogs that assist them in daily life. Service dogs can be any size or breed and can perform any number of tasks, including guiding someone who's blind, assisting in mobility, and providing medical alerts. Service dogs have public access rights and cannot be denied entry to public places or private businesses. You may only ask 2 questions of a service dog handler. Is this a service dog required because of a disability? And what work or task has this dog been trained to perform? Other animals, such as emotional support animals, are not considered service animals under the ADA and do not have public access rights.
Don't make assumptions.
It is essential to never make assumptions about someone's disability status, preferences, or needs. Never assume what someone may need. Always ask before providing any assistance. When encountering someone with a visible disability, you may be tempted to offer assistance without asking, but remember, do not make assumptions. If a voter is entering the polling place, starting the check-in process, or voting, do not touch their wheelchair or mobility device, grab an arm to provide direction, talk to a service dog, or otherwise interfere or physically touch someone without explicit permission to do so. People with similar disabilities may not all rely on the same modes of communications or accommodations. For example, while some people who are blind read Braille, many others do not, just as some people who are deaf communicate with American Sign Language or other signed languages, and others do not. Someone with a mobility disability may be a full-time wheelchair user and unable to walk at all, while someone else may be an ambulatory wheelchair user and be able to walk with or without other mobility devices, such as a cane or crutches.
Two-way communication, patience, and flexibility.
Even if you are unsure whether a person you're interacting with has a disability or how their disability may affect their communication style, it's important to follow the same consistent approach you would with anyone. Be patient, flexible, use plain language, and don't make assumptions. The goal of communication is to understand what is being said to you and to be understood by the person. You may need to repeat information more than once, or in a different way, using different words. A key to understanding is listening. If you're having trouble understanding what the person is communicating to you, do not interrupt the person or attempt to finish their sentences. And do not pretend you understand if you do not. Instead, ask follow-up questions and summarize your understanding of the conversation for verification. If you continue to not understand what they are saying, ask if they can say it in a different way.
Language and sensitivity standards.
When preparing materials for outreach or other notifications, keep in mind different people and disability groups have different preferences when it comes to the language used to talk about disability. The two most common types are commonly known as person-first language and identity-first language. Person-first language places an individual or group before their disability. Examples include a woman who is blind, a man who is hard of hearing, a customer with a cognitive disability. Identity-first language places disability as an inherent part of someone's identity. An autistic woman, a wheelchair user, a disabled employee. While different people and groups may choose different ways to identify, either of these are appropriate to use. The important thing is to respect the language choices of the person with a disability. There are, however, terms to avoid. Terms that categorize people, such as the disabled or the blind. Terms that may have been once commonplace but are insulting and derogatory, including wheelchair-bound, confined to a wheelchair, cripple, handicapped, challenged, or special needs. Terms that are euphemistic, like handy-capable, differently abled, or diffability. Finally, remember that there is nothing inspirational, special, or praiseworthy about someone with a disability, or anyone for that matter, who is voting or participating in society. We hope this video series will empower you to help make voting more accessible. For more information, please visit eac.gov.